Well, hello, MGTOW. Welcome back to my truck. Welcome aboard. Today, I want to talk a little bit about what it's like being a monk on a day to day basis. Being monk is a mindset. It's not a mindset of struggle, it's a mindset of peace. It's you go about your daily life, right? And sometimes, as a monk, you don't even think of sex. It usually happens, thinking of sex usually happens when it's marketed to you, right? When the women, you're going to, on your daily business, and across you comes a woman that's half naked, right? And so it becomes inevitable for you to notice her, right? Because she's wearing all these flashy colors, or she's almost wearing all these flashy colors, and showing half her skin. So that's one thing that can spark desire on many men. But the whole idea of being a monk is so that you can live your life in a free manner, so you can focus on other things that you want to do in life. It's sort of like a superpower that you're giving yourself. And sometimes we come across, like I said, we come across instances we where our our status as monks gets tested. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was in I went to do a pickup, right? To pick up a load. I loaded a trailer at one of our client locations, and there's at the office in that place a woman who's very beautiful, at least in my eyes, right? She's she probably wouldn't make it, or she may make it on TV, as a superstar or whatnot. Um, but I think what makes her attractive in my eyes is that, first, she doesn't wear makeup, and second of all, her body's out of this world, and I find her very beautiful. She's got some freckles going on, and wears these glasses that make her look kind of innocent like, right? Very attractive thing. But um, I knew it was trouble. I knew it was trouble, and so I held back from saying something out of respect for myself and out of respect for the corporate setting in which we found ourselves. And I also held back because of the inherent discipline that um, is part of being a monk, right? And I said to myself, if I make a comment, right, just the thought of breaching that barrier, right, between you know, maintaining myself abstinent and wanting not to be, wanting not to be so, would have had a negative psychological impact on me. So, out of respect for myself, out of respect for the MGTOW philosophy and the claim of being a monk that I've made in these past months, I said no. I said I'm not even gonna comment on her looks. First of all, because I know that most likely, the desire there will not be reciprocated, right? And even if it did, it would have meant trouble. And so I didn't say anything. But yesterday was kind of an interesting day because there was a guy from our company, right? A safety guy, and he came down to that particular location, and I found him there, and he was working there to make sure that everything was running smoothly. Simply because hey, this is one of our bigger accounts, and that's the guy's job. His job is to make sure that everything runs safely, right? That drivers are hooking up trailers in the right manner, that nothing's out of whack, right? So that everything runs smoothly and we can keep the account. So like I said, it's a major account of ours. And so he's in that office, right? He's in the office setting, temporarily at least. But needless to say, right? This woman who is in a clerical position there got wind that he was coming, and when she saw him, of course, um, you know, hypergamy goes in action, right? Goes into action. She, in her mind, he's somewhat of a higher status social man, and for whatever as destiny has it, I went in there, right? I went in the office when they were both there, and saw him. I introduced myself because he didn't know who I was. And finally, I was able to put a face to the name, and he was able to do the same. I've been with the company for a while, and so it was just what people do. But she goes ahead, and I never had any sort of extended conversation with this woman. In fact, her body language led me to believe that she was nowhere interested in me. And so, like I said, I never made any comments outside of work or anything. Um, but she goes ahead and she turns around. She says, out of the blue, she says, "Have we had a conversation? I don't remember." And I'm like, and as I'm stuck there thinking, like, what is this all about, right? My my red pill mentality went into gear, and I said, I have to be careful here, right? Because we have someone who's overseeing the whole operation, and now I have this woman who's playing games here. So I'm like, conversation. I'm like, I don't remember any sort of extended conversation here. I wouldn't call anything we've had conversation. Anything we've had in the past conversation. And apparently that shut everything off. But then she turned around and facing the safety manager with a giggle, and that sort of welcoming attitude that women have when when they're out hunting for a higher status man, right? She's like, "You're so mature," and he looks at me in shock. He's shocked that she said that, right? And he looks at me. I'm like, "Fuck." I'm like, "What's going on?" I'm like, I know she's, I mean, in the back of my mind, I knew that she was after him, right? And I'm like, damn, So I looked at the guy and I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna get into it. And that was the only thing I said. I'm not gonna get into it. And but the funny thing is, right, that what she doesn't know is that, hey, I probably make twice as much money as that guy makes. Number one, because hey, I drive, and my career is in demand right now. Up until the time when computers will take over. It's right. Believe it or not, you can't just put anybody in a truck, right? There's some requirements that are to be met, right? People have to be healthy. They have to not have certain habits, like drinking. You can't drink and drive, right? You have to have a clean background, right? Because you can't be going around stealing or hurting people, right? And these are very simple requirements, but amazingly, a lot of people don't meet them. And of course, you have to go to school to learn how to drive one of these big machines. So an experienced driver is someone who is in demand right now, right? Someone who knows what they're doing is can command uh, a respectable salary. And in my case, I own my truck outright. I just own it. So whatever money I make after fuel and insurance is all mine. And because of my MGTOW lifestyle, I spend only what I want to spend, only what I need to spend. And so I'm not gonna say I have money to burn because there's no such a thing, but I'm not lacking either. And who knows what this guy's finances are, right? He's basically an office, what we used to call an office bitch, right? He's a corporate man, right? And we know from you know publishings like The Millionaire Next Door, right, and books of that sort, that it's not always the best dressed person who has the higher income and who has the higher net worth. You'd be surprised. There are people out here who are walking around, with a T-shirt and and a pair of jeans, and they have an incredible amount of holdings in their portfolio. So, but to get back to the monk way of thinking, right? It's a mindset of not desiring these women and to staying out of trouble because of that. See, those are just some of the benefits you get. Especially if you're doing the monk no fap routine, right? Where you choose not to masturbate. You get this incredible amount of energy. You get strength and you get mental clarity because you see everything in such a way where your desires do not interfere with what it is you have to do. It's a lot of focus, and it's kind of a gift that you give yourself by adhering to this discipline of being a monk. And one thing comes to mind. One of the most successful organizations ever to have existed throughout the centuries is the Shaolin Temple. And if you do not know or have not heard about the Shaolin Temple, these are monks who live in China and who have decided to practice martial arts. Right? They did so for political reasons at first. Right? The early days of martial arts were a necessity. That was the way in which warriors came out to fight before the invention of gunpowder. But amazingly enough, the temple has existed for some say nearly 5,000 years. I don't know the specifics of how long the temple has been in existence or in place, but I do know that it's been quite a long time, and it's amazing that these guys, all men, have made it through. They've made it through all kinds of events that have taken place in China, right? And the temple is still in existence today, although today it's more of a they do teach and they do practice kung fu, which by the way means hard work. The word or translates loosely to something like hard work, because the monks were initially farmers, and some of the weapons that they use were farming implements that were somehow altered to serve both purposes of the farming and fighting as well. At any given time, the lowly farmer had to be ready to defend himself. And so that's where we get kung fu from. But these guys are monks, and they've been at it for thousands of years. And I believe that if it wasn't because of their monk status and their vegetarian lifestyle, they wouldn't have been able to make it. Perhaps today, very few of us would have any knowledge of what the Shaolin Temple is, right? But because they were monks and they are to this day vegetarian, we know about the Shaolin Temple. So it's a matter of what can you accomplish, right? Who will you be? Will you get distracted by these by your desires, right? Like a leaf in the wind, or will you be focused, right? And it doesn't take much to being a monk. For being a monk, it doesn't take much. What it takes is adding a tremendous amount of pain to the idea of getting involved with someone who most likely will not give anything of value to your life. I have I'm thinking something like in the case of when people want to stop smoking, right? They want to stop smoking cigarettes, right? I mean, you can have all kind. You can put on all kinds of patches. You can go and try different things, whatnot. But if you really want to stop smoking, it's best to tackle the addiction where it's at, right? And that is in the mind. You can begin associating a tremendous amount of pain to the idea of smoking. For example, you can begin to notice the stench in your clothes and in your hair. You can notice the stained fingers, right? That come as a result of your smoking habit. The lack of energy, the mucosity that that ails you as a result of you having chosen this lifestyle, right? The lifestyle of a smoker. The bad breath. You can focus on how smoking may put your health in jeopardy, right? The very real possibility that you may die early as a result of your actions. The expense associated with smoking, most of which is in the form of taxes, and so forth and so on. And so, if you associate smoking with all that negative stuff, then there will come a point when you will no longer want to do it, right? You'll no longer want to do it because you'll see it for what it is. And I've made an interesting observation, when it comes to MGTOW channels. I see that, MGTOW channels are somewhat divided. And with the larger channels being those channels that promise men the idea, they still offer men the promise of being able to interact with women in a safe manner, right? And if we think about these channels, right? I'm not gonna say they're the same as PUA channels, because they're not. The PUAs are very upfront about what it is they're trying to do, and that is what a lot of men want interaction between between men and women to be, and that is they want sex to be safe and available. They want the punani to be safe and readily available. And so these larger MGTOW channels, right, are offering just that. they're so-called red pilled, they're so-called this lifestyle or that lifestyle. But and I do have tremendous respect for these guys because they have a lot of knowledge when it comes to red pill philosophy. But to me, we have to take it one step further, and we have to realize that this promise of safe and available, um, you know, available pussy, really, safe and available pussy, it's just that a myth. It's never been the case. I mean, I'm sure that we've had to in the past, in order to obtain, to get access to sex, we've had to deal with jealousy from other men, as in the case of animals, right? Some of which fight to death in order to be able to reproduce, and we've had to watch our back for animals while we were um, you know, in the very act of uh, interacting sexually with a woman. Of course, as those threats diminished, we found ourselves with different threats, right? The the women um, are not healthy. You know then there's the threat of pregnancy, right? And then of course we know that women are aware of our desire for safe and available sex, right? We know that, and they're aware of it, right? Believe me, they're very much aware of the fact that that's what men want, right? But we're forced to jump through all kinds of hoops in order to have a woman, right? And what most men desire is, most men, in my opinion, they want a special one, right? She's not out there. She's just not. It's a dream best put aside, you know. So we're jumping through all kinds of hoops. We're jumping through all kinds of hoops in order to get free and readily available sex, right? But it just never materializes, or just for most of us, anyways. Um, it's just not a. I mean, if you think even the pimps, right? You're thinking that, hey, these guys, they turn the tables on a woman, right? They turn the tables on a woman. The pimp is the man that turns the tables on a woman. How so, you say, sweet padre? How so? Well, the pimps, you see, they have the woman give them money, right? And they're skilled enough in their communication to make her desire um, his presence, right? Um, Many of the pimps use all kinds of psychological games to separate themselves from the men, right? Who they call tricks, so that the woman doesn't get the idea that, hey, this guy is just another turnover. And but even for a guy like him, right, or even for a guy that has a lot of money, or especially for the guy that has a tremendous amount of wealth and social status, um, sex is not safe. It's not safe. There are issues that must be dealt with, right? In the case of the pimp, there's some health issues there, as well as some legal issues. And in the case of the the man who holds a position of status and wealth, there's the threat of a fortune going down the drain, as well as social status diminishing. So sex is not it's not what has been sold to us, right? So that we can labor and labor and uh, continue to feed the system. So that's those are some of the reasons why I stay monk. You know, because it's just a nightmare out there, and it's a lot of peace, a lot of peace when you decide to when you give the give yourself the gift of respect, right? The gift of saying, I'm not gonna go to bed with this dirty woman. I'm not gonna go to bed with someone who's manipulating me, who may put me in some sort of danger. And I'm gonna give myself the chance to live my dreams, the dreams that perhaps uh, in the past I was not able to materialize because of my addiction to being with these members of the opposite sex. Anyways, I thank you for listening. I hope this video was somewhat informative, and that you see as an invitation to try it out. Try out the monk lifestyle. Like I said, it's a lot of focus, a lot of peace, and just when you get to the point that you simply do not desire the women that surround you, no matter how beautiful they are. When you get to the point where the desire just kind of diminishes, right, or normalizes rather, right, then you can call yourself a monk, and what a beautiful thing it is. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you liked the video, do share and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the very next one. Thank you.